Three of us. We've got David, who's responsible for a lot of what you see in TopoShare, as well as the website. Ryan next switched over to the development team this year and is helping me to develop a lot of the TopoDOT tools that you guys are using. So now every year we kind of strive to make sure that you've got a new set of tools and workflows to train on here at the user conference. So last year you guys used the 2021.1 beta. And then around September, we released the official 2020.1 release, which had some additional features that you guys might not have learned at the previous user conference. So this year, you're going to be learning not just the new features from the 2022.2 or the 2022.0 beta, but you're also going to be touching on some of the new features that you might have missed in that previous official release in 2021. All right, and then we're also going to be pushing out the official release for the version that you guys are using here at the users conference in around the middle of May. So you guys can look forward to download that. Now, for those of you that want to go back to your office and download the same version that you're using here at the users conference, you can do so by going over to the top right of the ribbon to where it says settings, clicking on the button that says select update branch and switching that to beta. Once you do that, then you can go ahead and click on the check for updates button, which is going to start that download and get everything installed for you. Okay. Now, before I go into the new tools that we've added this year, I want to touch base a little bit on some of the tools that were included in that last 2021 release, not just in the beta, but in that official release that you guys might not have actually seen at the previous users conference. So Ted kind of stole my thunder on this one, like he said there, but the automatic power line detection and connection tool, great for distribution lines. You just kind of go in there, place a slice through the data, and it automatically figures out how all these distribution lines are connected. It's giving you a chance to verify everything before you accept it, and then you click the button and it plots it down for you. All right. Another big change last year was the smart polygon data tiling. So for anybody that's done complex road corridors with intersections and whatnot, you've probably spent a lot of time going in there, creating your data tiles, trying to figure out how to move each vertex to make your data tiles look a little bit nicer or cleaner. With this new smart polygon data tiling, all you have to do is go ahead and select all of your trajectory lines. You set your tile dimensions. Click process, and it's going to automatically figure out how to generate these blocks for you. And then the anomalies, you can go in there and you can select them and click merge, and it's going to fix those shapes for you. Okay, so it's a big time saver. We also added the noise removal by using the common point source ID into the random noise filter tool. What this does is it allows us to detect moving objects in the point cloud data, things like your vehicles, your people, and animals, or whatever you might have in there. And it's going to automatically just clear that out for you and leave all your features, like your signs and your poles and your trees and such in the data there. Ted also talked about the road surface analysis tool there. So that tool got completely redesigned from the ground up to detect new types of distresses. We also detect the precise location of each of these distresses and outline it for you. We calculate the volumes for cut and fill. And the workflow itself has been completely redesigned to be a little bit more intuitive. And it has exports for things like paver software, Esri, or Excel. All right, and really quick, the way that tool works, for anyone not familiar with it, is you select your paint stripes. Those define where the road should be. You click process, and at this point it goes through there and it locates those distresses. Like I mentioned, it calculates the volumes for you. It's also going to color code the point cloud for you so that what you see here, green, is where that ideal road plane should be. Reds and blues are going to be your bumps and your ruts, potholes. You can disable all of that, so you just see where those distress areas are. And then from there, you can create, for anyone not familiar with the PCI calculations, you create something called a sample unit, which takes portions of the road and breaks it up into 2,500 foot chunks. And then from there, you can just generate your report. So now getting into the features for this year, you guys may have noticed the switch from the old interface to the new white and green interface. This gave us a chance to kind of go through there, modernize a lot of the interface to do things like, for example, the intensity histogram tool. Rather than displaying the little blue selection in the past and the little color gradients on the far right of the tool there, we've actually incorporated into the selection itself so that you get a better idea of what is being displayed by the point cloud engine. We have also made small changes like being able to save your data noise thickness with a name. So let's say you're processing or you're draping data for UAV data, you might use a different data noise thickness than for mobile data sets. So this gives you a way to name it and quickly, select those options rather than trying to remember which settings you used in the past. We also added support for dragging and dropping for features like the attribute scheme editor and the feature code export tool, so that it's easier to move around the little export scheme. For anybody that's done that, you can just now drag and drop it rather than deleting it all and adding into the correct order. And same for the attributes, just drag around the attributes in the order that you're looking for. There's been also several typography enhancements to the tools. So for example, the feature code export tool, you'll notice the feature code itself has been kind of boldened and separated from the description. This was a little bit hard to read in the past, where it was just kind of all the same typography, and it was just kind of distinguished between quotation marks. You'll also notice the level list on the left side there now has the level color, as well as any used levels are going to be boldened to more closely mimic what MicroStation displays in their level list, so you kind of get that same look and feel. Now, the asset identification tool itself has seen the largest change here in the new release. Some of the features include being able to rotate your side views using the middle mouse button, which some of you guys might have already played with this in the classes. And then also being able to drag and drop the center points and the radiuses rather than trying to remember which key combination adjusts which setting. If anybody's used the tool in the past, you had to remember that the middle mouse button adjusted the height and left mouse button adjusted the ground, and it was just confusing. So everything's now an intuitive click and drag. All right, so next up, the auto asset identification tool has also been merged with the regular asset identification tool, so it's just one interface. To access that, you click the little robot icon on the top right of the tool, and that opens up that panel on the side. Now, that auto asset identification algorithms have kind of gone through its own bit of enhancement in that we've added machine learning to kind of do things like remove noise that might have been detected by the tools in the past. So we've trained the model to say, okay, this is noise, or this is a man-made object or an asset, and it's able to refine that list for you. So, as an example, we have a data set. It's a little bit over a mile of urban roadway. With the prior version of TopoDOT, we're looking at about 407 assets that it found, but that required 656 times of clicking that red skip button. As you can tell, that's a lot of clicking just for passing through noise. But with the 2022 release, we've taken that down significantly. So we found an additional 20 assets or so, but we took down those skips down to 152 just by using that machine learning algorithm. So significant amount of clicks reduced. All right, so the next bit of it is with the object type recognition. So not only are we detecting what type of data it is, whether it's noise or man-made, but we're actually able to categorize that data. So is it a sign, is it a pole, is it a tree, or is it an unknown category? So from that, we're able to pre-sort all of those data objects for you so that all the signs are grouped together, all the poles are grouped together, all the trees are grouped together, which again reduces the need to switch your cells. So, as you're dealing with poles, you don't want to sit there and keep switching from pole to sign on the next one to tree to the next one. That's wasting time. So by sorting this list, if you're doing a bunch of poles, you can just leave that pole cell selected and just keep clicking accept. Again, it sounds small, but it actually saves you a lot of time. And then finally, not only are we detecting the type of object, but in the case of signs, we're actually looking at what shape is that sign. So, is that sign a diamond, is it a square, an octagon, a triangle, or a school sign? We're looking at that, and we're looking at the previous 20 times that you selected a cell for that particular shape. And based off of that information, we'll say, okay, the user is most likely to be using a stop sign for this shape, or a school sign for this shape, and we pre-select that for you. Again, saving you a little bit extra clicks and time. We also have been getting a lot of requests for making measurements in the asset identification tool for things like sign faces. So what we're doing here is, and it's kind of hard to see there, but you're basically aligning up your view using the little rotation axis that shows up on the side, and then Alt-click to drag and drop, and places your measurement there. From there, you can export those measurements either into your asset attributes or into the asset description text that's plotted down. All right. The next tool that's kind of gone through a change is the draped data tool. Now, the main portion of the tool has stayed the same, but we've made significant changes to the way that the QA/QC step works. For example, now you can actually process or QA/QC multiple elements. In the past, that tool is automatically selected or automatically accepted all of the elements if you had multiple selected. Now you can actually step through one by one and look at it and make sure everything is draped properly. We also added support for inserting additional points either in top view. For example, if you're doing like a building or a step or something like that, you can go into the top view, just insert the points, and you also have the option of draping it as well. We also changed the way that the preview itself looks like. So as you're going in there and inserting points or moving them around, it's showing you a preview of those lines and how they're going to be connected. So if there's any breaks that are missing, you can see that quickly and insert that point to right where it needs to go. Losing my voice. All right. Oh. Yeah, please. All right, so next up, we've got the image project parser. Here we go, thanks. Right, so next up we've got the image project parser. This tool's actually been available for a long time as a key-in, but what it does is it lets you take a large image project that might be, in some cases terabytes large, and it's going to let you take a small chunk of it so that you can send it to your client. So, your client might be requesting a certain intersection or a certain portion of that project. You don't want to send them the full terabytes of images. So with this, you just kind of define the boundary shape, and you say, this is my boundary, this is my image project, and it's going to copy only the images that are inside of that boundary element to its own unique folder, and then you can zip that up and give that to your clients. It saves you a lot of storage space there. All right, now the the TopoShare interface itself has also seen a lot of changes. So you'll notice as you go to the TopoShare links, we've actually updated the GPU rendering engine that it uses. So in the past, we had problems with displaying a certain amount of elements. We're now able to display, several hundreds of thousands of elements now using the GPU to render all that quickly. We also added support for being able to download data tiles and meta files. So you can provide this link to your customer. If you want them to have access to that, they can just click the data tile and it's going to download the LAS file or the DOT file for them. You can customize which meta files they want to download. So if you want to give them access to your DGNs or your control files or any sort of reports, you can put those up there and share it with them so they can grab it. And then finally, we also added some custom branding options to that. So, as you're giving these links to your clients, they'll always see your company logo on the corner. And it's just kind of a nice little touch. And then for anybody that's not familiar, we also released a free MicroStation image viewer specifically for these TopoShare enterprise projects. So again, rather than shipping hard drives of images to your clients, you can just give them these links. They can download the MicroStation plugin, and they're going to be able to access the images same way that you guys do with TopoDOT. Just by clicking on an area, it'll pull up that closest image, download it from Amazon or Azure, and display it for them in the view. All right, and then just to finish off here, just some of the things that we're working on. Ryan has actually been working on developing a new ground model algorithm. So what you'll notice is our current tool, and you guys I'm sure have experienced this to some degree, when you don't have ground data and you've got a lot of vegetation going on, you'll notice that the shots go up into the trees and the vegetation, and you had to do a little bit of cleanup. With this new algorithm that we're working on, it's actually doing a much better job of sticking to that ground data and ignoring all of that noise. Now, this is going to be a big change that's going to be implemented across 3 tools. So the elevation grid tool, which you guys are used to, the classification routines are going to get an improvement because of this. And also the asset identification tool, or the auto asset identification tool that you saw earlier is also going to be enhanced because we're now able to see a more accurate ground model from this. So again, that'll be probably coming around the end of the year. And then as we continue forward, you'll notice not every tool has been converted to use that new white and green interface. It's taken us some time to convert each one of these tools and make these changes. So as we move on, we'll see those changes take place. All right, so that's it for my presentation. And if you guys have any questions, I can take those for you.
What to change?
Well, we've get a lot of feedback from our customers, so we've noticed that we have a big development table of requests from all of our users. We'll notice typically that we have a large trend that says, okay, we're needing to develop a lot of tools for power lines, or we need to enhance the tools for adding attachment points for the power line. So it's basically looking at our development table, seeing what's kind of trending, and then working from there. A lot of times, if it's like a smaller request, we'll kind of try to push it in there quickly for you guys. But
Basically, you're just listening to customers.
yeah, for sure.
And by the way that you can make those requests are directly on TopoDOT. You can just go to, request, or what is it called? Fixes, or?
In the TopoDOT ribbon on the far right, when you go to the settings tab, there's a report bug button. If you click that, it takes you to a page where you can either report a bug or you can submit a feature request, or you can just email us directly. Either way is fine.
Some of the tools too, whenever there is a app or something, it would ask you to directly send it to us. So, that's the easiest way to communicate any kind of issues or directly to the development. But also, if you're not sure of a process, a workflow, or if a tool can be applied to a certain project, just give us a call. We can do a consultation with you about, is this possible? Is there already a tool for it? And, there might already be. So not everything has to be an enhancement or a new tool, or it doesn't have to be spelled out, guardrail tool. There is already a tool that can get you that, So just give us a call. That's all.
I just want to add something to that now that I'm on the development team, and we sometimes try to figure out solutions to what people have issues with, and a lot of times that's how we develop a lot of our tools. But sometimes we know there's specific problems, or there's maybe we hear you doing something when we're talking to you, and it's really a roundabout way. Let us know if it feels like it's really taking a long time in a roundabout way. Like, there's no magic button, but if you have an idea of a process, let us know. Sometimes there's things like, anybody here do Rail a lot? Because I'm trying to get a process for Rail, and it's like pulling teeth. Nobody ever emails me back. They just stick to doing it a really long way. I'm like, I want to help, but if you have a good way to do it, if you have good ideas, let us know. That's how we develop it. So it all comes from you guys.
Thanks. I was just wondering if you had any plans in the future to expand on some of the more solids modeling tools, like the bridge tools that you have for, say, like non-standard shapes.
So we're kind of limited in that we're not able to create technically like new solid modeling tools. That's kind of microstations side of stuff. But that's not to say that we can't add tools to help with that. So let's, for the beams, we start creating tools to create the outlines of the beam so that you can extrude it with microstations tools. We can add various tools like that to kind of help you with that modeling. But if you have any specific ideas or suggestions, we can always work with you to figure out a workflow or a tool that will help you with that extraction.